So let's go back 2016, that era. So talk about the relationship that you had with your daughter at that point.
I mean, my daughter had a wonderful relationship. I took care of her. She loved McDonald's. I always took her to McDonald's, took her to school, and everything was beautiful. She always told me, "Daddy, I love you," and I had no problems with her.
Were you in the house? Were you living in the house, or were you just come over?
I had my own house. I used to just come by and check on her, make sure she was all right and needed anything. I always was there for her.
And there were other children in the house, right?
It was her sister.
Older or younger?
Older.
Older sister.
Yes.
But you would come over and you would take your daughter out to McDonald's, and like how often a week would you?
It's like every day. All through the school year, yes.
So talk about the relationship that you had with her mother.
Well, it was a off and on situation. We was cool one minute, the next minute, you know what I mean? But at the most part, you know what I mean, I moved on. We wasn't together no more. And I ended up getting another female pregnant, so that's where the bitterness started.
So with the mother, you were dating her for a while?
Yes.
So how long were you dating her?
I say we was together around about 5 years.
About 5 years.
Yeah.
And then you got another girlfriend, or you just got another girl on the side?
Yeah, I moved on and got with somebody else, yes.
So how did that change your relationship with your daughter's mother?
Well, it was a lot of bitterness because the baby was involved. Another baby came along, and that's what caused all the pain, I guess, towards her. But yeah, that's what changed everything.
So when you say a baby involved, it was a baby with the other woman,
yes.
Correct?
Yes.
And your daughter's mother just didn't like that. She
Right.
was jealous?
Yes.
I mean, how did she act out? I mean, how did you know that, hey, this is really going south?
She would say little different things like, if I can't have you, can't nobody have you. And just the way she used to come at me when I come around, it's bitter.
So in 2016, 2017, and 2018, there were sexual abuse tests. Like your daughter went to nurses, and it was determined that she had been sexually abused.
Right.
What did you do whenever you found out that she had been?
Well, this had been, nobody never told me about this until the day that this happened. Like, till I went to jail, basically. But all the while, her daughter was babysitting some of my family members. So it was constantly people over there all the time.
The older daughter.
The older daughter, yes.
So when she went to the same nurse in 2016, 2017, 2018, you're saying her mother never told you
No.
that she had been sexually
No.
abused?
No.
And you did not find out until
I was arrested.
because I think at some point somebody had said that somebody called over to the house and you might have been having breakfast with the mother or something, and mentioned that, you know, daughter, maybe it was Lucas County Children's Services maybe had called over and said.
It was the other way around. I went over there and she mentioned that something was going on with the daughter. And when she told me, I asked her who was it. She never confirmed to me who it was. Next thing I know, I was being accused for it.
So let's go back to when you were accused. So they just arrest you and put you in a,
well,
did you do an interview with the police?
I didn't do no interviews or nothing. It was like, whatever she said, that's what they stuck with that. And then when they seen me in the streets, that's when they arrested me.
Now, supposedly your daughter, during these 3 meetings with the nurses, she said, my daddy touched me inappropriately.
Right.
Why would she say that?
The mother had coached her. It's all coming from the bitterness from the mother.
But you also said your daughter said that "I love you, Daddy" all the time. So if she loved you, why would she?
She always used to tell me that, but when she get with her mother, I mean, this is what she told her to say.
And you think it's just because her mother just wanted to get back at you?
Yes, exactly.
So your daughter, I believe, was like 7 years old. I don't know. She must be like 16 or something now, 15,
Yes,
16. Was she developmentally challenged, or was she?
Well, she had some issues on slow learning type disability, but for the most part, she was real smart, very smart.
I mean, I would think that hurt you a lot. That this girl.
Yes. I'm still hurt.
Have you had any contact with her, or you're probably not even allowed, are you?
No type of contact.
Do you know what she's saying now?
Well, she was young then, but now, from what my other daughter, I got an older daughter, and she be trying to reach out, but they won't really let her. But she's asking questions, where my dad at?
Yeah. So you were convicted of 5 counts, and 2 of them were like in 2017, 3 of them were like 2018, I guess, or maybe the reverse, I don't know. But there were 2 different years that you were accused of raping your daughter.
Right.
Did you rape your daughter in 2017?
No. The same person that was in my family, she'd been babysitting them for years. So it was a family member. I had nothing to do with none of that. Then it was 2 separate locations. She was staying in one side of town, then she moved, and it still was going on. Then,
So I asked you the same question in 2018. Did you rape your daughter?
No, sir.
Why do you think it's this other family member?
Because, for one, in my trial, they said I couldn't be excluded. The only reason I couldn't be excluded, it had to be somebody in my bloodline.
I mean, is there a family member that you suspect?
Well, yes.
Why?
The only person was around at the time.
Around, like he was being babysat?
All them years, only one person was around, sir.
Now, I think you had testified at trial that you were never alone with your daughter at that time. Is that true?
Yes.
So how does this all come back on you?
I mean, right now, I mean, it's like people lie, you know what I mean? And people believe them, and everything was pointed at me, and I wasn't nowhere around to even do any of this.
So I think there was, one of the stories was you had brought Popeyes over.
That was the night that we was all in the room. Our mom, our sister, we was all there. All I did was drop some food off and I left.
You never took your daughter into the bathroom?
No. They all was sitting around. We was all sitting around the front room, living room. How could I take her somewhere and they right there? The apartment was real small. None of that even went on. This was a made up story.
So why did you drop the food off and leave? Why didn't you just stick around?
I had my own apartment, so that's what I would do from time to time. The kids was hungry or whatnot, I'd go over there and drop food off, like just a responsible father, taking care of my kids. That's all.
I just think about this, emotionally, being in prison for raping my daughter.
Right.
And you're saying you didn't do this.
Right.
How do you deal with that emotionally?
I mean, it's never a good day. Some days better than others, but it's painful. There's no other way to describe it. It's painful.
Yeah, and when I look at this case, when I read all the papers, I'm like, okay, she went to the same nurse in 2016, 2017, 2018. And she said all 3 of those times, and she also told a teacher that my father had touched me. So I can certainly see how a jury would look at that and be like, well, the kid's not lying.
Right, but see, then nobody never investigate the mother. She has mental problems, so you got to see how she deals with herself and her kids to really understand the whole picture.
Yeah. But I mean, that's cold, man. I mean, that's cold
right.
to put your daughter up to that.
Exactly.
What was the last conversation you had with your daughter?
Last conversation, like I said, I used to drop McDonald's off when she get out of school. So the last conversation she told me was, "Daddy, I love you," and went back in the house. I was in the car, dropped the food off. I was sitting in the car. She came to the window, gave her the food. She said, "Daddy, I love you," and that was it.
And that would have been back probably in 2018, I guess.
I would say right before 18. Could have been like in 17, somewhere up in there.
But she never tried to contact you whenever you were in. She never tried to contact you whenever you were in jail or the county lockup or anything.
Nope.
You know, when I looked at your record, there were drug charges on your record. Were you addicted to drugs?
I mean, I had my time experiencing drugs, yeah, but I went to rehab and got myself back together.
Was the drug of choice like cocaine?
Yes. Yeah.
Alcohol?
Yeah. Yes.
And I bring that up because I know people are going to ask this question, but so you were addicted to drugs and alcohol. Is there any chance that you were under the influence and you just didn't remember doing something to your daughter?
I never was over there alone with her. So, nah. None of that.
How come you were never alone with your daughter?
Her sister was always there, her mom always there. She didn't have a job, so it wasn't like she had to go somewhere.
Yeah.
So they was always home.
So what's your relationship like with your other kids? How many other kids do you have?
I got 5 altogether.
You have 5 altogether. So what's your relationship like with the other 4?
Great. And I mean, they missing me right now, so they hurting too, just as much as I'm hurting.
Do any of them come and visit you?
Yes, my daughter do. Yes.
Have any of them ever accused you of doing anything to them?
No, never. I've been in several relationships with women with kids, and all the kids always loved me. So this has never happened to me before.
So why do you think it was this daughter and not one of your other daughters that?
I mean, like I said, the bitterness of the mom.
Yeah, but I mean, you had other kids with this mom, right?
No.
Oh, this was the only one you had with that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, that makes sense. And at some point, you took a polygraph test.
Yes. I took 2 of them, actually.
2 of them. Okay, I know about one of them, and I know that one.
They never reported the one I took in the county jail. That one I passed. The one I took with BCI, somehow I failed, so they say.
How do you know you passed the one in the county jail?
Because the guy that took it told me.
And what did they ask you?
Same exact questions.
And I believe the one with BCI, they said you failed, and there's a range, and it showed that you failed it fairly significantly. So how do you think that happened?
You can never fail nothing when DNA play a part in something. I can't lie. People lie. DNA don't lie.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I don't know. I've never taken a polygraph, so I don't know whether your nervousness or whatever would
Wasn't even
affect
nervous though.
Yeah.
Calm, just like I am now. But nothing to be nervous about.
So when you heard, did they tell you? Did BCI tell you immediately that you were being deceptive, or did you learn about this later?
It was later. Yes.
And what was your reaction to that?
I just couldn't believe that a test can say I'm lying and I'm telling the truth.
And you had actually, I believe you made the stipulation that this can be used during your trial, correct?
Well, this is what the prosecutor presented to my lawyer. Said if I passed the test, I would be no more charges. But the first test that I took, I passed with flying colors. They never used that, so I didn't understand that. Why would I have to take a second test when I already passed the first one that they was talking about?
So why did you? What did your lawyer tell you?
He was just like, just we need to take this test, and once you pass, everything will be dismissed.
Who was your initial lawyer?
Frank Simmons.
Don't know.
I heard he resigned.
Yeah, I don't know that name. What's the last name?
Simmons.
Simmons?
Yes.
Frank Simmons. I don't know that name, which is surprising to me. So was the polygraph used against you at trial?
I mean, it's part of some of the evidence, I believe.
Yeah, because usually they can't use a polygraph against you at trial.
When
but
you hear that, I mean, of course they're gonna use it.
Right, but I mean they can without your consent. So
Yeah.
you had given them consent that you could use it.
I had gave them consent, saying that if I pass the test, the charges, everything would be dropped. I should be clear. So that was how that all came about.
But then it ended up backfiring
Yes.
because
Yes.
you,
But I passed one and I failed the second one. So how could that be?
yeah. And I don't want you to use names of the family member, but what do you believe happened?
Well,
I mean, there were multiple times.
Well, see, here's the thing. She was around kids that was being babysitted by her sister. So therefore, her sister was like 17 maybe at the time. She had little boyfriends of her own. So she really wasn't watching the kids like she should have, and she was trying to sneak and do her. So at the time, it wasn't no real parent guidance around them kids, and one thing led to another. I wasn't around like that, so I'm knowing what happened with it was kids was trying to be grown, and that's what happened.
I mean, you think you know who did this. I mean, you got to have a lot of anger toward this person.
I mean, all I can do is ask for forgiveness, but at the same time, God see everything, so he get what he got coming.
I want to ask you, there is something besides the DNA, which we'll get to. There is some other intake form from LCCS, which I guess wasn't known at the first trial. Can you tell me what that form was all about? 'Cause I think it's under seal.
I never knew about it. I'm just finding out about all this too myself.
I mean, what's on the form? What does it say?
It was more complaints was still being made. Allegations was still being made about abuse after I was still in prison. So it was still going on.
So there's still allegations of abuse against your daughter while you were locked up.
Yes.
Does the intake form like name who?
Well, it has a few names on there.
So this would be significant because this wasn't ever given to your defense team in the first trial?
Yes.
And it seemed to indicate even when you were locked up in county or whatever, she was still being abused
Yes.
at that point?
Yes.
So let's talk about the, so your case is the first case reviewed by the Conviction Integrity Unit.
Yes.
How did that happen? What's your understanding about how that came about?
Well, some people that I knew went to the town hall meeting in our town, and they got introduced to some people that was starting the program, and that's how that came about.
Was it Pete Gherkin?
Yes.
Now, have you had any conversations with Pete?
No.
But your friend took the story to him.
Yes.
So when this was reviewed by the Conviction Integrity Unit, did you have any communication with the prosecutor's office?
I really don't know. I really don't know how that worked.
You don't know whether you talked to someone from the prosecutor's
Well,
office?
I didn't actually talk to nobody, but my family did. They was more communicating with the people on the outside.
Yeah. And so they did a couple things. They got you counsel, right?
Yes,
Which is your current attorney.
yes,
But then they also paid to have the test done to determine the DNA of the material in the underwear.
right.
So, and that came back that it wasn't you.
Right.
So what are you thinking at that point?
I mean, I was thinking what I've been thinking from the beginning. I already knew it wasn't me. Wasn't no different feeling. I already knew that.
But were you thinking that, hey, I'm going home or this is over?
I mean, I never been in trouble like that, so I don't know how the process works in the legal system. So I'm just keeping my faith in God and just hoping one day everything would be clear.
Because I think at some point I'd seen an interview with your mother. Is she still alive?
Yes.
I had seen an interview with your mother, and she described you as, walking on cloud nine, and you couldn't sleep.
I mean,
were
yeah. Once
so
you hear that, yeah, it did something to me. I had hope again. Say that.
And now here we are, that you filed a motion for a new trial, and the prosecutors are opposing that.
Right.
How does that make you feel?
I mean, why would you oppose something that somebody already clear of? I just keep my faith in God, man, and just hope that soon I'll be back in trial. My name will be cleared, and I can get my life back, and I can be exonerated.
And do you believe that you are going to get a new
Yes,
trial?
yes.
What's your attorney telling you at this point?
I mean, at this point, we're just waiting on the judge. So,
Yeah. Judge Navarre, is that who?
yes.
So I mean, sitting here today, you're really excited back then. I mean, what are your emotions sitting here today?
I'm still feeling confident. Still feeling uplifted. Just taking it one day at a time.
You hear about people that go to prison for sex crimes against children, and prison's like an awful experience. I mean, has this been a really bad experience
Yes,
for you?
very bad.
I mean, tell me about that.
I mean, just waking up somewhere where you don't belong because you in here for a crime that you didn't commit. And then you got to think about other inmates that actually look at people with those type of crimes. It can get dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, so I would guess there's some amount of fear.
Yes.
I mean, can you talk about that? Because like you said, they do look at it.
I mean, sometimes you could be a target at any point, and then, most of the time you try to, stay to yourself and don't really get in no groups. You know what I mean? You isolate yourself from different people.
Have you been targeted?
No, not myself.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I would just ask you to make a final statement. I think when people heard that I was going to interview you, they're like, "Oh, what did he do?" I'm like, "Well, he's convicted of raping his daughter." And they're like, "Oh, I don't know if we want to tell that story." It's just a negative story, and people. So I want to ask you, what do you want to tell people? Because when they hear your name, they're thinking a certain way.
Well, I just want the world to know I'm an innocent man being convicted of something that I didn't do, a crime that I didn't commit. and that I'm keeping my faith in God. I want my name to be clear real soon, and I just want to be exonerated and get my life back.
What will you do if you're exonerated?
I mean, the first thing I do is just try to get my life back in order. You know, I lost a lot. Things have changed over the years, so basically just try to get my life back on track.
Yeah. How old are you now?
54.
And you were like 48 or something like that when you came in here?
Yep.
Now you mentioned your faith in God. I'm curious, did you have that before you came into prison?
Yes. Yes.
Are you angry at him?
No.
Why not?
Because things can happen to anybody. You know, I'm not perfect, so.
Yeah.
You know,
But I mean, that's a pretty bad thing to happen to you.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
It seemed like it could shake your faith a little bit.
Nah, it didn't shake mine. It's made me stronger in belief.
So I want to explore this a little bit just because I am interested in it. But when did you develop a relationship with God?
Well, this has happened over the years I was growing up, my whole childhood. Yeah, my family members, real spiritual. So I was raised in the church all while coming up.
So what do you think happened? I mean, because you obviously, like you said, you haven't lived a perfect life. You had the drug offenses. So how did you get sidetracked like that? Was it just the call of the street?
Yes. Neighborhoods I stayed around and people I hung around with, things like that.
Yeah. So you think if you have a new trial and you're released back into society, that you'll be a productive member of society?
Yes.
You have a support system you can go back to?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Just a lot of family members doing different things, got a lot of things going on as far as work. They fix houses and different things like that. It's just a lot of support with family.
Yeah. Tell me about what you do here in prison to, I don't want to say pass the time, but essentially pass the time. How are your days spent here in prison?
Well, in here it's mostly just working out, reading books, watching a lot of sports, stuff like that.
Yeah. What kind of books you read?
I'll be reading spiritual books. Times I read books about just different topics. There's plenty of books in here.
Yeah. And in sports, what's your sports
I'm mostly a football guy.
team?
I say the Baltimore Ravens.
Won't hold that against you.
Yeah.
But, you have anything else that I didn't ask you that you want to touch on?
Well, it's just to the point to where, you know, it's hard being in prison for something that you didn't commit, a crime that you didn't commit, and then everybody put a stereotype on people if they hear something. Sometimes you got to dig into the facts. People lie, DNA don't lie. And I just want the world to know I'm innocent and I want my life back. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.